Welcome. Suicide bomb hit Somalia military base. Mastermind of Al-Shabaab. Militant Al-Qaeda network. The explosion hit a military base in capital Somalia on Wednesday. A few moments later, there was shooting at the scene. Al-Shabaab military group linked to Al-Qaeda claimed responsibility to what it's described as suicide bombing. This is GNI News Update, and I'm Veronica Limo. As Al-Shabaab militant group linked to Al-Qaeda claimed responsibility for what it's described as suicide bomb, it is a nuclear weather. There were many collisions from the explosion at the Jal Siad military base in Mogadishu. They had a sudden explosion, then gunfire inside the base, and all they saw the lump of a thick smoke. But also in 2023, in a similar incident, a suicide bomber killed at least 10 people after targeting a line of young recruits who registered at the Damanyo military base opposite Jal Siad. Al-Shabaab has been insurgents in Somalia since 2007, and it is making significant progress in rural areas this year. A suicide bomber entered the base targeting Western experts who trained the army. The militant group said an explosion hit a military base in the Somalia capital on Wednesday, as they followed by gunfire. A witness said as Al-Qaeda-linked military Al-Shabaab group claimed responsibility for what it described as a suicide bomb attack. It was not immediately clear whether there was collision from the blast at the Jal Sahid military base in Mogadishu. A new African Union peacekeeping mission in Somalia replaced a large force at the start of this year, but its funding is uncertain, with the United States opposed to a plan to transition to a UN financing model. This is not the first time Al-Shabaab and Al-Qaeda attack Somalia military bases. Al-Shabaab and Al-Qaeda, they're like brotherhoods. Al-Shabaab, or the Youth, is an Islamist insurgent group based in Somalia. It held sway over the capital of Mogadishu in the late 2000s, but the military campaigning led by the African Union, AU, and supported by the United States and the Western partners pushes it back from the major population centers. Still, the insurgency has proved resilient and remains the principal security challenge. In war-torn Somalia, it controls large parts of the country's south and continues to mount leather attacks against international forces and civilians in the region. Meanwhile, Al-Shabaab annealed threats have repeatedly pushed the AU to reevaluate its withdrawal and complicated US counterterrorism operations, which have ebbed and flowed in recent years. One of the most impoverished countries in the world, Somalia has seen militant groups come and go in the decades of political upheaval. Analysts say that Al-Shabaab and the incubator of any of its leaders was Al-Ittihad, Al-Islam, AIAI, or Unity of Islam, a militant Salafi group that peaked in the 1990s after the fall of Said Barres in 1969 to 1991 regime and the outbreak of civil war. IAIA's core was Band of Middle East, educated Somalia extremist that was partly funded and armed by Al-Qaeda's chief, Osama bin Laden. In the early 2000s, a rift development between AIAI's old guard, which had decided to create a political front, and younger members who sought the establishment of the Great Somalia under fundamentalist Islamic rule. The hardlines eventually joined forces with an alliance of Sharia courts known as the Islamic Courts Union, ICU, and served as its youth militia. Al-Shabaab and ICU wrested control of the capital in June 2006, a victory that stoked fear in neighboring Ethiopia of spillover jihad violence. Ethiopia and Somalia, they are neighbors. Ethiopia, a major Christian nation, invaded Somalia in December 2006 and hosted the ICU from Mogadishu. with little resistance. The intervention, which came at the request of Somalia's transitional government, radicalized Al-Shabaab analyst says. After much of the ICU fled to neighboring countries, Al-Shabaab retreated, where it began organizing assaults, including bombing and escalations, to Ethiopia forces. Some experts say that it was during 3 years the group became more powerful and gained the large piece of territory in the center of southern Somalia. The Ethiopian occupation was responsible, PDF, for transforming the group from a small, relatively unimportant part for some moderate Islamic movement into the most powerful and radical armed function in the country. Rob Wise, a counter-terrorism expert, Addis Ababa said the international was a reluctant response to call by ICU for jihad against Ethiopia, and it renewed territorial claims against both Ethiopia and Kenya. It was stressed that the intervention was supported by the United States and the AU, among others. New Islamist nationalist figures swelled Al-Shabaab's ranks from around 400 into the thousands between 2006 and 2008. The group's tie to Al-Qaeda emerged during this period. Al-Shabaab leaders praised the territory network and condemned what they characterized as U.S. crimes against Muslims worldwide. The State Department signed Al-Shabaab a foreign terrorist organization in 2008, and Al-Shabaab's leadership declared allegiance to Al-Qaeda in 2012. Recent estimates of Al-Shabaab's membership range between 7,000 and 12,000. The group regularly forces civilians, particularly children, to enter its ranks. They was recruiting young people by force. Other recruits joined voluntarily, often for financial reasons. Al-Shabaab broadly seek for overthrow the central government, expel foreign forces from Somalia, and ultimately establish an Islamic State in accordance with its version of Sharia, to build its legitimacy among Somalis. The group provides services within its protection territories, such as dispute settlement, that the government has long struggled to deliver. Mogadishu isn't able to compete with the Al-Shabaab, has to offer in the area where it has been strong. A more common goal in an Islamic State to bring together all East Africans' ethnic Somalia areas in area it controls. Al-Shabaab enforces its own harsh interpretation of Sharia, prohibiting various types of entertainments, such as movie and musics, the sale of khat, a narcotic plant that is often chewed or being smoked, and the shaving of beards is not allowed. Stoning and amputations have been meted out of suspected adulteries and thieves. At the same time, the group bans cooperation with humanitarian agencies and presenting the Halloween challenge in the face of Somalians. Al-Shabaab seems to gain more power, and it is attacking even the government of Somalia. The government of Somalia is under threat because of Al-Shabaab and Al-Qaeda. For more information, kindly don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. This is G&I News Update, and I remain Veronica Limo.